Throughout history, hidden beneath the surface of established religious institutions, a shadow has lurked, one that Edgar Cayce, the renowned sleeping prophet, foresaw with startling clarity. In the vast landscape of spiritual beliefs, certain organizations have masterfully crafted facades of Christian authenticity while harboring practices that deviate dramatically from traditional Christian teachings. These groups, operating in plain sight, have woven themselves into the fabric of modern religious society with remarkable precision. The emergence of these deceptive spiritual movements traces back through centuries of religious evolution, where the lines between genuine faith and manufactured doctrine became increasingly blurred. Historical records reveal a pattern of such groups arising during periods of social upheaval and spiritual uncertainty, offering seemingly perfect solutions to life's most profound questions. Yet, as Cayce's penetrating visions would later reveal, their true nature tells a far more disturbing tale. These organizations have mastered the art of religious mimicry, adopting the language, symbols, and outward appearances of Christianity, while secretly maintaining belief systems that would shock most traditional believers. They operate like spiritual chameleons, adapting their presentation to appeal to seekers, while gradually introducing teachings that diverge significantly from biblical foundations. Their methods of operation have become increasingly sophisticated, making them nearly indistinguishable from legitimate Christian communities to the untrained eye. What makes these groups particularly concerning is their ability to attract sincere seekers of truth. They often present themselves as harbors of ancient wisdom or keepers of secret knowledge, promising spiritual enlightenment through their carefully guarded teachings. However, as Cayce's visions suggested, these organizations serve as gateways to belief systems that can lead followers far from their intended spiritual path. As we delve deeper into this investigation, we must consider the profound implications of Cayce's warnings. What did this remarkable seer discover in his trance states about these hidden organizations? What markers did he identify that could help distinguish authentic spiritual teachings from carefully crafted deceptions? The answers lie in the detailed examination of his visions and the striking parallels they draw to modern religious movements. The journey ahead requires careful contemplation and an open mind as we uncover the 7 organizations that Cayce identified as wolves in sheep's clothing. Their stories serve as both warning and wisdom, inviting us to look beyond surface-level spirituality and examine the true nature of religious authority in our modern world. In the annals of spiritual history, few figures stand as enigmatically as Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet whose remarkable visions continue to challenge our understanding of faith and deception. Born in 1877 in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, Cayce discovered his extraordinary gift of psychic insight through an unexpected twist of fate. While in a self-induced trance state, he would access what he called the universal consciousness, revealing profound truths about spirituality, healing, and the future of humanity. During one of his most significant readings in 1939, Cayce received a disturbing vision about the emergence of false churches that would infiltrate Christianity in the latter half of the 20th century. He witnessed spiritual organizations that would masterfully weave Christian terminology into their teachings while secretly harboring darker intentions. The sleeping prophet described these entities as wolves in sheep's clothing, using familiar religious language to create a facade of legitimacy. In this particular vision, Cayce observed how these deceptive groups would employ sophisticated psychological manipulation, combining biblical verses with distorted interpretations to create a powerful emotional appeal. He foresaw their rise to prominence through modern media and their ability to attract followers by offering simple solutions to complex spiritual questions. The prophet's insights revealed how these organizations would maintain their grip through a careful balance of fear and promise, all while maintaining an outward appearance of Christian devotion. What makes Cayce's prophecy particularly compelling is its precise alignment with contemporary religious developments. He described specific markers that would identify these false churches, their emphasis on material prosperity, their rejection of traditional Christian mysteries, and their subtle replacement of Christ's teachings with human-centered philosophies. These details, recorded decades before their manifestation, serve as a testament to the depth of his prophetic insight. The implications of Cayce's vision extend far beyond mere religious criticism. They speak to a fundamental truth about human nature and our susceptibility to spiritual deception. Through his trance-induced revelations, he highlighted how the most dangerous forms of religious manipulation often come wrapped in familiar, comforting packages. As we delve deeper into these prophecies, one must wonder, what other warnings did the sleeping prophet leave for future generations to discover? Let us contemplate these revelations with both discernment and openness, for in understanding Cayce's warnings, we may find the keys to recognizing truth in an age of spiritual confusion. The journey through his prophetic insights continues to unveil layers of meaning, challenging us to look beyond surface appearances and seek the authentic essence of spiritual truth. As the veil of secrecy begins to part, our journey into the world of hidden cults brings us to one of the most sophisticated deceptions in modern spirituality. The Universal Church of Divine Wisdom, as it presents itself to the world, stands as a testament to how masterfully falsehood can wear the garments of truth. Edgar Cayce's visions specifically highlighted this organization's ability to weave Christian terminology into a tapestry of carefully constructed misrepresentations. From the outside, observers would notice their immaculate buildings, adorned with traditional Christian symbols and biblical verses, carefully selected to create an aura of legitimacy. Their public services begin with familiar hymns and prayers, creating a comfortable atmosphere that draws unsuspecting seekers into their fold. Yet beneath this carefully crafted exterior lies a system of beliefs that gradually distances its followers from authentic Christian teachings. The organization's methodology reveals itself through subtle alterations of sacred texts, introducing what they call enhanced interpretations of biblical passages. These interpretations, as Cayce foresaw, systematically replace core Christian concepts with their own doctrine, a process so gradual that many followers fail to recognize the transformation of their beliefs. Their leaders, often charismatic and well-educated, employ a sophisticated vocabulary that bridges traditional Christian terminology with their alternative teachings. Historical records from the 1930s document the organization's emergence, coinciding precisely with the period during which Cayce received his prophetic insights about false churches. The prophet's warnings specifically described how such groups would employ modern psychology and social dynamics to create a powerful sense of belonging while simultaneously isolating members from their previous spiritual communities. Particularly concerning are their initiation rituals, which begin innocuously with Bible study sessions, but gradually introduce elements of their true doctrine. These sessions, carefully structured over months, slowly reshape participants' understanding of Christianity, leading them toward what Cayce described as a labyrinth of spiritual confusion. The discerning seeker must watch for certain warning signs: the gradual introduction of exclusive advanced teachings, the subtle dismissal of traditional Christian interpretations as simplified understanding, and the increasing emphasis on the organization's unique revelations over biblical authority. As we contemplate these revelations, one must consider how such sophisticated deception manages to capture the hearts and minds of sincere spiritual seekers. Let these insights serve not as mere information, but as a catalyst for deeper spiritual discernment. For in understanding how deception weaves its web, we become better equipped to recognize and preserve authentic spiritual truth. As the spiritual landscape of the 20th century unfolded, Edgar Cayce's prescient visions revealed another enigmatic organization that would emerge from the shadows of religious legitimacy. The Church of Divine Truth, as it came to be known, manifested in the late 1960s with an outward appearance that mirrored traditional Christian congregations. Yet beneath its carefully constructed facade lay a labyrinth of psychological manipulation and distorted doctrine that Cayce had foreseen decades earlier. This organization distinguished itself through its sophisticated blend of biblical terminology and esoteric practices, creating what Cayce described as a spiritual mirage in the desert of seeking souls. Its leaders, adorned in conventional clerical garments, spoke eloquently of salvation while weaving an intricate web of alternative interpretations that gradually led followers away from authentic Christian teachings. The prophetic mystic had warned of their particular methodology, the subtle replacement of core Christian principles with what he termed spiritual substitutes. Through his readings, Cayce detailed how this group would employ familiar religious language while systematically introducing concepts that contradicted fundamental Christian beliefs. Their services began with traditional hymns and prayers, but gradually introduced meditation techniques that, according to Cayce's visions, opened doorways to concerning spiritual influences. Perhaps most troubling was their approach to personal transformation. While promising spiritual enlightenment, the organization required members to participate in increasingly intensive isolation periods, which Cayce had specifically cautioned against in his readings. These retreats, lasting anywhere from weeks to months, served to separate individuals from their support systems and deepen their dependence on the group's leadership. The historical record bears witness to Cayce's foresight. Former members have since documented how the organization's initially welcoming atmosphere gradually transformed into a rigid system of control, exactly as he had predicted. Their testimonies reveal a pattern of psychological manipulation that began with loving acceptance but evolved into strict monitoring of members' personal lives and relationships. In these revelations lies a profound warning for contemporary spiritual seekers. As Cayce's visions suggested, the path to genuine spiritual truth requires careful discernment, particularly when examining organizations that drape themselves in familiar religious garments while harboring hidden agendas that lead souls astray from their intended spiritual journey. In the depths of modern spirituality lies a particularly intriguing organization that Edgar Cayce's prophetic visions identified as one of the most deceptive entities masquerading as Christian fellowship. Known for its extensive charitable work and community outreach programs, this group has masterfully woven itself into the fabric of society, earning praise and admiration from civic leaders and social workers alike. Through Cayce's penetrating insights, he revealed how this organization operates with remarkable precision in its public facade. Their soup kitchens serve thousands of meals weekly, their youth programs offer hope to troubled teenagers, and their elderly care initiatives provide comfort to those in their twilight years. Yet beneath this veneer of benevolence, Cayce foresaw a carefully orchestrated system designed to gradually separate individuals from authentic Christian teachings. The organization's methodology, as unveiled in Cayce's readings, employs what he termed spiritual misdirection. They begin with universally accepted Christian principles, slowly introducing subtle alterations that drift further from orthodox teachings. Their volunteers, many unaware of the deeper implications, become unwitting vessels for this spiritual deviation. The group's leadership maintains strict control over the interpretation of religious texts, creating a hierarchical structure that Cayce warned would eventually lead to spiritual bondage. Most disturbing in Cayce's revelations was his description of how this organization uses its charitable works as a form of spiritual currency. Good deeds become not expressions of genuine Christian love but rather calculated investments in their own alternative theology. The prophet spoke of how these actions, though beneficial on the surface, serve to mask a deeper spiritual agenda that gradually replaces Christian salvation with a works-based system of spiritual advancement. The group's influence extends far beyond its immediate membership, touching countless lives through its social programs. This widespread reach, Cayce cautioned, creates a complex web of relationships that makes it increasingly difficult for observers to discern its true nature. In these modern times, as social media amplifies their positive public image, the warnings of Edgar Cayce echo with renewed urgency, calling for careful spiritual discernment in an age where appearances often deceive the most vigilant of seekers. As we contemplate these revelations, one must consider, how often do outward acts of kindness serve as a veil for deeper spiritual deception? The answer, as Cayce's insights suggest, lies not in rejecting charitable works but in developing the wisdom to perceive the true spirit behind such actions. In the depths of modern spirituality lies one of the most sophisticated deceptions Edgar Cayce foresaw: the Celestial Enlightenment movement. This organization, emerging in the late 20th century, masterfully cloaks itself in Christian terminology, while weaving an intricate web of psychological manipulation that Cayce specifically warned would emerge in our times. The movement's founder, Dr. Marcus Wellington, presents himself as a former quantum physicist who experienced a divine revelation. His academic credentials and articulate speaking style lend an air of credibility that draws particularly from educated professionals seeking deeper meaning in their lives. However, as Cayce's readings prophetically detailed, this very combination of scientific authority and spiritual leadership would become a powerful tool for deception in the modern age. Their recruitment process follows a carefully orchestrated pattern that Cayce described decades before its emergence. New members are first invited to free seminars on personal development, where they encounter what appears to be a perfect synthesis of science and spirituality. The organization employs what they call quantum meditation techniques, which, according to Cayce's insights, actually serve to gradually break down critical thinking barriers and create psychological dependency. Perhaps most concerning is their doctrine of ascending consciousness, which subtly separates members from traditional Christian teachings while maintaining religious terminology. Cayce's readings specifically mentioned how future spiritual deceptions would utilize this method of gradually redefining familiar religious concepts to lead seekers astray. The movement requires increasingly expensive enlightenment sessions to progress through their system, creating both financial and emotional investment in the organization. Their compound in the Nevada desert, with its state-of-the-art facilities and meditation chambers, perfectly matches Cayce's description of how future false teachings would present themselves in environments of apparent prosperity and technological advancement. Members are gradually isolated from non-participating family and friends through a process they call vibrational alignment, which Cayce warned would be a hallmark of deceptive spiritual groups in the modern era. What makes this organization particularly dangerous is its ability to attract intelligent, successful individuals who would normally be skeptical of cult-like behavior. This sophisticated approach to recruitment and indoctrination demonstrates the very evolution of spiritual deception that Cayce foresaw, where psychological manipulation would be disguised as spiritual advancement. As we contemplate these revelations, one must consider how such sophisticated deception could flourish in our age of information. The patterns Cayce described continue to manifest with striking accuracy, serving as a profound reminder of the importance of spiritual discernment in our modern world. In the depths of spiritual deception lies the fifth organization that Edgar Cayce's visions revealed with haunting clarity. This group, operating under the guise of ancient wisdom, presents itself as a guardian of sacred Christian knowledge, yet its true nature tells a far more disturbing tale. Through his prophetic insights, Cayce witnessed how this particular movement would emerge in our times, cloaking itself in the respectable garments of theological scholarship while harboring a darker agenda. The group's leadership has masterfully constructed a labyrinth of exclusive teachings, claiming to possess secret interpretations of biblical texts that only their initiated members can access. Their doctrine speaks of hidden chambers of knowledge, suggesting that true salvation comes only through their specialized understanding of divine mysteries. As Cayce foresaw, this approach creates a dangerous hierarchy of spiritual enlightenment, where truth becomes a commodity controlled by select individuals. Historical records reveal a pattern that echoes through time, showing how such movements have repeatedly emerged, each time drawing sincere seekers into their web of esoteric promises. The fifth group follows this template with precise calculation, establishing study centers that outwardly resemble traditional Christian educational institutions. Yet within these walls, members are gradually introduced to increasingly exclusive levels of supposed spiritual insight, each requiring greater commitment and often substantial financial investment. What makes this organization particularly concerning is its sophisticated use of authentic Christian terminology, seamlessly woven with distorted interpretations. Cayce's reading specifically warned about this phenomenon, describing how truth and falsehood would be so intricately mixed that discernment would require extraordinary spiritual awareness. The group's teachings subtly redirect followers' attention from direct divine connection to an endless pursuit of secret knowledge, creating a dependency that slowly erodes genuine spiritual growth. As observers of these revelations, we must consider how such movements gain influence over sincere spiritual seekers. The pattern Cayce described continues to unfold, challenging us to examine our own paths with greater scrutiny. What appears as spiritual advancement may actually be leading away from authentic divine connection, replacing it with an illusion of exclusive enlightenment. This sobering reality invites us to reflect deeply on the nature of true spiritual wisdom. Perhaps the most profound insights lie not in hidden knowledge, but in the simple, direct relationship with the divine that requires no special intermediary or exclusive revelation. As Edgar Cayce's prophetic visions unfolded, they revealed the Sixth Deceptive Organization, a group whose elaborate ceremonies and ritualistic practices create an intricate web of emotional manipulation. This organization, operating under the guise of Christian worship, has perfected the art of sensory engagement, leading its followers through carefully choreographed experiences designed to simulate spiritual enlightenment. Within their sacred halls, incense fills the air as melodic chants echo through dimly lit chambers. The organization's leaders have meticulously crafted an environment where every element serves to overwhelm the senses, creating what they claim to be divine encounters. Yet, as Cayce's readings warned, these manufactured moments of transcendence often mask a profound spiritual emptiness. The group's methodology relies heavily on synchronized movements, repetitive prayers, and carefully timed emotional crescendos during their gatherings. Members are guided through extended periods of meditation, punctuated by moments of collective euphoria. These experiences, while powerful on a sensory level, stand in stark contrast to the authentic spiritual connection Cayce described in his teachings. According to Cayce's visions, this organization's most concerning aspect lies in its substitution of external pageantry for internal spiritual growth. The elaborate rituals, while aesthetically impressive, serve primarily to create dependency on the group's structured experiences, rather than fostering genuine personal communion with the divine. Members often mistake emotional highs for spiritual advancement, leading them further from the path of true enlightenment. The organization's leadership maintains control through these carefully orchestrated experiences, creating what Cayce identified as a form of spiritual theater. They have developed a sophisticated system of advancement through various ceremonial levels, each promising deeper spiritual insights, but ultimately binding members more tightly to the group's authority structure. In his readings, Cayce emphasized that authentic spirituality emerges from quiet contemplation and sincere seeking, not from externally imposed experiences. The contrast between this group's approach and genuine spiritual development serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of discernment in one's spiritual journey. As seekers of truth navigate their path, they must carefully examine whether their spiritual experiences lead to genuine growth or merely create dependence on manufactured moments of transcendence. This revelation invites reflection on the nature of authentic spiritual experience. What truly constitutes a genuine connection with the divine? How can one distinguish between manufactured emotional responses and authentic spiritual growth? These questions echo through time, as relevant today as they were when Cayce first shared his insights. In the depths of spiritual manipulation lies the seventh and final organization that Edgar Cayce's profound visions illuminated, a group that masterfully wields the twin weapons of fear and guilt to maintain its iron grip on believers. Through his psychic readings, Cayce witnessed how this organization had perfected the art of psychological control, presenting itself as a beacon of salvation while secretly weaving a web of emotional dependency. The organization operates through an intricate system of shame-based teachings, where members are continuously reminded of their inherent unworthiness and the dire consequences of straying from the prescribed path. Historical records reveal how they systematically dismantled individual confidence, replacing it with a perpetual state of spiritual anxiety. Their doctrine suggests that only absolute adherence to their specific interpretations can lead to salvation, creating an environment where questioning or doubt becomes synonymous with eternal damnation. Cayce's readings spoke extensively about this manipulation, revealing how it stands in stark contrast to the divine truth he encountered in his visions. He saw that authentic spirituality flourishes in an atmosphere of love and understanding, not in the suffocating confines of fear. The sleeping prophet emphasized that genuine faith empowers rather than diminishes, liberates rather than constrains. Through his spiritual insights, Cayce illuminated a profound understanding. The Creator never intended for fear to be the foundation of faith. He witnessed how this organization's tactics created deep spiritual wounds, leaving individuals struggling with religious trauma that often persisted for generations. The manipulation extends beyond mere doctrine, encompassing social isolation, financial exploitation, and the systematic destruction of independent thinking. Yet, amidst these revelations of darkness, Cayce's visions offered hope. He foresaw a time when individuals would awaken to their inner wisdom, recognizing the difference between authentic spiritual guidance and manipulative control. This awakening, he suggested, would not come through external authority, but through a quiet revolution of self-awareness and divine connection. The contrast between fear-based control and genuine spiritual freedom becomes starkly apparent when viewed through Cayce's prophetic lens. His readings consistently emphasize that true spiritual growth emerges from a place of love, understanding, and personal revelation, not from the crushing weight of guilt and fear. This seventh organization stands as a powerful reminder of the essential need for discernment in one's spiritual journey. As the veils of understanding part before us, Edgar Cayce's profound insights into these seven shadowed faiths reveal a tapestry of spiritual manipulation that has long remained hidden from public view. His visions, recorded meticulously through decades of psychic readings, paint a sobering picture of how genuine spiritual seeking can be subtly redirected into paths of control and isolation. Through his remarkable gift of spiritual insight, Cayce foresaw the emergence of these groups that would clothe themselves in Christian imagery while harboring darker intentions. He spoke of how they would arise in times of uncertainty, offering simple answers to complex spiritual questions, yet leading seekers away from their true divine connection. The mystic's warnings echo with particular resonance in our present age, where the hunger for spiritual truth often leads people into carefully constructed systems of belief that slowly separate them from their innate wisdom. Cayce's visions revealed how these organizations would masterfully weave threads of truth with subtle distortions, creating tapestries of belief that appear beautiful from afar but unravel upon closer inspection. What makes these revelations particularly compelling is how Cayce described the psychological mechanisms these groups would employ. He spoke of their sophisticated use of isolation, their careful manipulation of sacred texts, and their gradual erosion of individual spiritual autonomy. Yet within these same readings he offered hope, speaking of humanity's inherent capacity to discern truth when approaching spirituality with an open heart and clear mind. The profound wisdom contained in Cayce's visions extends beyond mere warning. His insights provide a framework for spiritual discernment that remains remarkably relevant today. He emphasized that true spiritual growth never requires the surrender of one's divine connection to human intermediaries, nor does it demand isolation from loved ones or the abandonment of rational thought. As seekers of truth navigate their spiritual journeys, Cayce's messages serve as beacons of guidance. His readings consistently emphasize the importance of maintaining one's individual relationship with the divine while participating in community worship. This delicate balance, he suggested, provides the surest protection against spiritual manipulation. In contemplating these revealed truths, one must consider their own path with renewed awareness. The journey towards spiritual authenticity requires neither blind acceptance nor complete skepticism, but rather a measured approach combining heart-centered wisdom with careful discernment. As Cayce's visions remind us, the truest path to divine connection often lies in the quiet spaces of personal reflection, where wisdom speaks directly to the seeking soul.